the only way forward. And it's going to accelerate right into your lap as you become a more dominant element in the society of the United States of America, the population of the United States of America. That's why I spend the time I spend on all of the diverse groups, whether it's women in technology. I mean, that's everything I've just said to you and more. They're half the population. They're half the population of the globe and the country, and participated 10% in the STEM disciplines. Now, I said the STEM disciplines were necessary, but no longer necessary and sufficient. So you've got to remind yourself of that. They get you started. They don't get you to finish. It's that change to the T-shaped culture, change to that multidiscipline thinking, change to that pursue value wherever it goes. That's what's going to be critical. That's where the hope is for the United States. That's where the hope is for the world. But that's where the hope is for the United States of America. We do that first, we do that better. We make these changes, we're the leader. We don't have to have the biggest economy to be the leader. We're in a knowledge age. We just have to have the best people with the best minds, thinking of the best value, creating the best value, so that everybody else can live off of that value. That's the future I see for our country. That's the important role that you play in doing that. I'm going to close with a story. Stories become very popular. Everybody has a story. President-elect tells stories. I'll tell stories.
Don't close.
So, I'm a second-generation American. My grandparents were all born in Southern England. My mom and dad were born here. My father, God rest his soul, was a very important man in my life. He was a very wise man in my life, but a very uneducated man in my life. My father never got out of the 10th grade for a myriad of reasons. It was the Depression. His mother had passed away in childbirth. It was time for the sons to go home and help the father bring the nuclear family together. But he was a man of incredible wisdom in many ways. I'm not so sure I saw it as I was growing up, because, he's a tough guy. He wasn't the kind of person who could sit down and have a little chat with. He was busy. He worked 3 jobs. I have an older brother, 2 younger sisters. 3 jobs to make ends meet. And barely we made ends meet, trust me. I mean, if we weren't proud Italians, we would have been just poor people. I see some of you identify. It always works out that, for whatever reason, parents tend to pick on. Maybe they align with, it felt like picking on, one of the children. And for whatever reason, like I said, I'm not the oldest, I'm not the youngest. My father picked on me. Nothing I did was ever good enough. Nothing I did ever satisfied him. Nothing I did could actually ever be the way it was for him. It always had to be different. Everything had to be changed for me. He would drive me crazy on a regular basis, pushing me. It came to a head, I remember, as I became a senior, as I became a high school student. And I'm from New York. That's where I was born and raised. Not so far from here, about 50 miles up the Hudson River. You could go to summer school every summer. I mean, they put that in because if you flunked, you were supposed to go make up your courses. But my father had a better idea. I wasn't flunking, but he said, you'll go to summer school, and you'll take a course, and you'll get ahead of everybody. And math and science were very big things for him. He had good understanding of the fact that that's how real wealth was generated. So I did. I started taking math courses before I even went to high school. That summer before I wasn't a freshman yet, they let me. So I said to him after like the second or third time, I had no life, by the way. I mean, my life was go to school. I'm not going to bore you with all the jobs I had, but I delivered newspapers for 7 years. 7 years, every day except Sunday, 100 papers strapped to my back. Rain, shine, sleet, snow, didn't matter. And, he made me do that, and, I actually won the Gannett Newsboy Scholarship, which is how I could afford to go to RPI. So, I mean, maybe he knew that. Maybe he was that smart. But that's the life I had with my father, right? So one day, I think this might have been my junior year, after I've got, there's no math courses left. I said to him, the Regents syllabus, I've blown it out. I mean, there's just no more math Regents courses to take. I kind of said to him, I want to talk with you because I'm getting concerned here that no matter what I do, it's never good enough. No matter how I do it, it could be done a different way. No matter what I try to do, it's always got to be different. And it's got to be changed from the way you did it or the way everyone else did it. So, Dad, could you kind of just help me understand what's going on? Could we just spend a minute on this topic? And of course, you did that with great fear and trepidation because, you're slowing down a guy who just goes 97 miles an hour. You're slowing down a guy who he's not a feely, touchy kind of person. He's a hard guy. I mean, he's a product of the working environment, like in my family, I don't know how it was in yours, but, every once in a while if you did something wrong, you'd get a little paka-paka-lagoo. And I'd be getting most of those paka-paka-lagoos, or other parts of my body if I were ducking or running. So, when I decided to have this little intervention, as we would call it, today with him, it was with great fear and trepidation. So I was ready to move. I was ready to back off, run, dodge. He surprised me. He sat there just like you were sitting there, with about that smile on his face. He just looked me in the eye, and he said, the reason everything that you do has to be different than everything else, the reason that nothing you do is ever quite as good as it could be, is because of a simple thought. If nothing changes, nothing changes. How profound, how simple, how incredibly articulate he was. It's true. It's so incredibly true. There is no such thing as too much change. It's what I'm trying to tell you. And there's nothing you can do about it anyway, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's going to occur. What you have to do is you have to be right in the middle of it. You have to be not only willing to change, you have to be willing to lead the change. You have to be willing to create the change. Don't change who you are, what you stand for, don't change what you believe in. I'm not asking you to violate any personal ethics or codes, but everything else goes. If it doesn't, you do. And if you do, our country does. It's no more complicated than that. That's why I have passion on this topic. That's why I welcome the opportunity to come and speak at these types of events. Because in some sense, my hope is that I'll touch you. I'll touch your